Crisis haunting. This type of haunting most often occurs when an individual is in the process of dying or has recently died. The spirits that are typically involved in these hauntings may be friends of the person or relatives that have died previously, or it could be the person that has just died appearing to say goodbye. This type of haunting usually doesn't last very long. Two examples of a crisis haunting. And one of these I just watched on the new show Paranormal Witness just the other night. Have y'all watched that? It's on Sci-Fi. Right for Ghost Hunters. This lady and her son, 3-year-old son, had wrecked, went over an embankment, went missing. Nobody knew they were wrecked, of course. They just turned up missing, and after about 4 or 5 days, law enforcement started getting concerned. This lady and her husband were driving along, and she sees an apparition of a naked lady laying beside the road. She didn't know it was an apparition at the time. She thought it was a real lady, so she calls police. Police come out, and there's nothing there. And a couple of days later, the police officer decides he wants to go back to that area. And he gets out and investigates what the naked lady was seen in the road, and he finds a shoe that belonged to a kid. So he thought, okay, that's ironic that a kid's shoe would be laying here when a kid is missing. So he walks over the hill and he finds the car, has the mother and child in it. The mother is dead, child's still alive after, I think it was 5 days. And it's believed that the lady actually came back as an apparition and appeared to those people driving to alert them of the car being over the hill. So that's one crisis haunting. Another one, some of you older folks may remember the movie Coal Miner's Daughter about Loretta Lynn. The scene in the movie where her dad appears to her. She had moved to Washington, D.C., or Washington State, rather, and her dad appears to her walking across the field, waving at her, and at that very moment, he had actually died back at home in Paintsville, Kentucky. So that's a crisis haunting. Phantom hauntings. There are several real-life ghost stories that feature phantoms. These are very interesting types of ghosts in that they resemble the living in such an intense fashion that many individuals do not realize that they are not true-to-life human beings until something unusual occurs or strange phenomenon is experienced. Though often associated with urban legends, ghost investigators that have researched ghost facts and ghost encounters with these types of hauntings, they consider them to be relevant and true paranormal phenomena. Examples of these types of hauntings include the famous phantom hitchhikers and other types of phantom travelers. I've never experienced one of those. If you look online, there's tons of stories about them, but I've never experienced one. Graveyard and cemetery shade hauntings. Graveyard and cemetery shade hauntings are considered to be quite common throughout the United States and world. They occur when the individual that has recently been laid to rest. It is believed that the spirits that classify under these type of hauntings are nothing more than remnants of that individual. Many believe that the spirits of the recently deceased could be coming to terms with their fate, or that they're waiting for their acceptance to the spiritual realm from the physical plane. Basically, they're nothing more than shadow people. If you're a paranormal investigator, we've all experienced those. Attachment, object hauntings. The spirit elects to avoid haunting a person or a specific location. Instead, they anchor in a physical item. It could be a piece of furniture, jewelry, toys, or other collectibles. Prime example of that, if you watch the show Haunted Collector with John Zaffis, that's what he deals in, is attachment hauntings. Sometimes the spirit will attach itself to a piece of furniture, a doll, whatever. And that's an attachment haunting. Melancholic hauntings. These are hauntings that come as a direct result of love, sadness, and or betrayal in life. These types of hauntings are typically female spirits, but male spirits have also been associated with them. The stories that surround a gray lady, black lady, or even a white lady could be a melancholic haunting. Every town, or every state at least has one, it seems. In most cases, the actual haunting is residual, but there have been reports of ghost investigators of melancholic hauntings that are considered to be intelligent. Like I said, you go on the internet, every state, every town just has a blue lady, white lady, gray lady, whatever. Whether they're all legit or not, I have no idea. Battleground hauntings. Many ghost investigators have experienced ghost encounters, heard voices, as well as other sounds in and around battlefields. Not too many of these hauntings interact on an intelligent level. However, there do seem to be some spirits with some level of consciousness associated with battlegrounds. The emotions and energy run so heavily in battle that it's believed that energy recordings are created, which result in residual-based hauntings. Of course, some of the most notorious haunted battlefields, of course, is Gettysburg. Also, Perryville Battlefield down in Kentucky. I've investigated that a couple of times and had some strange experiences down there. And I hope to go to Gettysburg soon. As a matter of fact, I'd like to go up to Paranormal State in November. I'm not sure if I'm going to fit that in my schedule or not. Animal hauntings. Animals have the ability to haunt people, places, and objects. There have been many reports of ghost cats, ghost dogs, ghost birds, other types of creatures throughout history. It's important to understand that animal hauntings could be residual as well as intelligent. And here's the dreaded Men in Black. I didn't do it, guys. Animal hauntings are not really, to be honest with you, I don't think they're that common, to be honest. I've only had one experience that I believe that was sort of an animal haunting. We got a dog that died. It was a Rottweiler. It died, and not long after it died, I came home one day and I got out of the car and of course I didn't see anything, but I could just sense this dog presence. I could sense his presence all around. And it only happened the one time. Never happened again after that. But that could have possibly been an animal haunting. I'm going to skip this one because I brought this up last year and some people had issues with it. I'm not that familiar with it. It's called the Marian haunting. And it's basically involves the spirits of saints like Virgin Mary and all of that. Some people got offended by that, saying that they were not hauntings and all that. And I brought it up last year only because I found it as a type of haunting. I actually found that on the internet. Elementals. Spirits which govern the four corners of the earth and are associated with or reside within the four basic elements, are air, water, fire, and earth. Elementals mimic sounds and smells and visuals in its environments. Sometimes they are harmful, but mostly they are irritating or baffling. I've never encountered an elemental. And I've only known one paranormal investigator that has. Y'all may remember him from the TV show Ghost Hunters, Brian Harnwell. And Brian and I were talking one day, and he was telling me about his dealing with one. And he said that a lady had called him, and something, a little short, shadowy, dark thing was in her kitchen, and would just wreak havoc in her kitchen. Things would be thrown everywhere, and basically just made a mess in her kitchen. So she called Brian, and he went in and investigated it. And sure enough, he said, same time the lady told him, this is what he saw. He said, this little short black thing just was showed up in her kitchen and just tore up everything. And he believed that to be an elemental. Other than that, I don't know much about them, just to be honest with you. Fairies. A fairy is a rather general term that encompasses all the magical creatures of faith, folklore, including small winged beings, gnomes, goblins, or specific individuals. They live in a parallel realm of magic. They like to impose themselves on the lives of mortal humans, even when they are invisible, and tend to be smaller in stature than the average adult. They are caretakers of the natural world and prefer to stay in places that are untouched by humans or overrun by nature. And I've never encountered one, to be quite honest. Aliens. Before I get into this, there was an article I saw online the other day, and I didn't get a chance to read it. My internet connection has to be the worst in the world. I couldn't get the article to open. But researchers have found an alien planet, and that's quite interesting. And I hope to be able to pull that article back up and read it. But anyway, an alien is a term that's often used to refer to life forms, especially intelligent life forms, that are of extraterrestrial origin, not coming from Earth. Usually a light gray or blue-gray in color, the reports of alien abductions go back for centuries. In fact, during the Mothman thing in the 60s, there was a guy in this area that was allegedly abducted by aliens. And and yes, I do believe in aliens. I mean, who are we to limit God and say He can't put life on other planets if He wants to? Okay, after the Mothman sighting report, strangers dressed in black began to appear in the area. Some believed that Mothman was an alien, and the men in black were government agents investigating the strange occurrences. Others believed the men in black were aliens as well. So, I think we could ask everybody in here, and we'd all have a different opinion on what Mothman or the men in black were. Harbingers. Harbingers is an entity which brings warnings of impending events. Throughout history and literature, harbingers and omens figure prominently and are responsible for major decisions which have altered the course of both. Though a harbinger of death cannot be killed, they can be captured. For most of this paranormal sect, the notion of being trapped and unable to travel their haunts is a fate worse than death. Mothman was also believed to be a harbinger in reference to the Silver Bridge collapse. As I just told you, Mothman was believed to be, by some, to be the harbinger of doom and destruction. This came true on December the 15th, 1967. The Point Pleasant Bridge collapsed during rush hour, sending a dozen vehicles into the dark waters of the Ohio River, killing 46 people. Do we have anybody here that had relatives on that bridge? Just curious. Okay. All right, that's the end of my presentation. You can contact me. My website's ghosthunterjoeclark.com. The Commonwealth Paranormal website right there is no longer any good. I'm in the process of building a new website. I've got it about 95% done. But you can, like I said, go to the first one there, ghosthunterjoeclark.com. I've got pictures on there, places I've investigated, and that kind of thing. I guess that's it. Any questions? We do have a mic right here. If you do have a question, come down to the mic so everybody can hear you, if you don't mind. I don't bite, folks. If you got questions. If you don't want to come to the mic, just raise your hand and GO. How's that? Yes, sir. You know, elementals have always intrigued me, and I've tried to do some research on them, but just to be honest, there's not that much information out there about them. You know, when in comparison to other types of entities. But, yeah, I'm very intrigued by them. Anybody else with a question?